Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into Rich Dad, Poor Dad to unpack a really powerful mindset shift that Robert Kiyosaki says is the key to breaking out of the 9-to-5 grind and building some real, lasting wealth.
So let's just dive right in with a question that, honestly, gets to the very heart of our relationship with money. What did your parents teach you about it? Was it stuff like save every penny, or get a good, safe job, or whatever you do, don't take risks? That advice, it becomes our financial programming, often for our entire lives.
And, this was the exact situation for Robert Kiyosaki. He didn't just have one set of rules about money, he had two, and they were completely at odds with each other. One dad was his biological father, a really smart, highly educated government official. The other was his best friend's dad, an entrepreneur who ended up becoming one of the richest men in Hawaii.
Okay, so let's actually put their advice side by side. This simple contrast is really the foundation of the whole book, and it's our first big clue into how the wealthy develop a totally different way of thinking about money.
So Poor Dad, the academic, he always said, the love of money is the root of all evil. But Rich Dad's take, the lack of money is the root of all evil. One told him play it safe, while the other said learn to manage risk. See, this isn't just slightly different advice. We're talking about a fundamental clash of worldviews. One sees a safe job as the ultimate security, the other sees it as a trap. Now, this huge difference in thinking, it wasn't just a collection of random opinions. Nope. It all boiled down to one single foundational rule that Rich Dad taught him. A rule he said was so simple, most people completely miss just how powerful it is.
And here it is. This is the rule. He says it's the only one you really need to know to build wealth. But to actually use it, you have to get the difference between an asset and a liability. And Kiyosaki's definition, well, it's going to change how you look at pretty much everything you own.
Rich Dad kept it super simple. He said, forget all those complicated dictionary definitions. An asset is just anything that puts money into your pocket, whether you're working or not. So, think of things like rental properties that pay you each month, or stocks that pay dividends, or even a business that runs without you having to be there every day. And on the flip side, a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. It's that simple. This is your car payment, your credit card debt, all those subscriptions, basically anything that's just a constant drain on your cash month after month.
Okay, and this is the idea that just shocks most people. We're all taught that our house is our biggest asset, right? But Rich Dad argued that unless it's actively making you money, your house is actually your biggest liability. And when you think about it, it makes sense. The mortgage, property taxes, insurance, repairs, it all takes money out of your pocket every single month.
Once you really get this difference between assets and liabilities, it's like a light bulb goes on. You start to see this trap that millions and millions of people are stuck in, a cycle Kiyosaki famously called the rat race. So what is the rat race? Well, it's this endless pattern. You get up, you go to work to make money, and then you immediately use that money to pay bills and buy more liabilities. It's a whole cycle driven by two emotions, the fear of not having enough money, and then the desire to have more nice things. The more you earn, the more you spend, and that wheel just keeps spinning faster and faster.
Let's actually break down the cash flow here. For a poor person, money comes in from their job and whoosh, it flows right back out to cover basic survival costs. There's nothing left to buy assets, so the pattern just never changes.
Now, the middle class, things look a little different. They earn more money, for sure, but they use that extra income to buy liabilities that they think are assets. The bigger house, the fancier car, the latest phone. Their money just flows out to the banks and the credit card companies, trapping them in the exact same cycle, just with more expensive stuff. The rich, though, they are playing a completely different game. They focus on one thing and one thing only: building up their asset column. They use their income to buy things that generate more income. And eventually, the cash flow from their assets is more than enough to cover all their expenses. At that point, their money is doing the work for them. And that's it. They've officially escaped the rat race. Okay, so the big question is, how do you actually break this cycle and start building that asset column for yourself? Well, the key, according to Rich Dad, is to completely rethink why you have a job in the first place. It's not just about earning a paycheck. The first key is to mind your own business. Now, this doesn't mean quit your job and start a company tomorrow. No. It means while your job pays the bills, that's your profession. Your real business is building your asset column on the side. You use your salary to buy assets, not just to pay for a bigger lifestyle. The second key, and this is a huge one, is to work to learn, not just to earn. So instead of always chasing a bigger paycheck, Look for jobs that will teach you valuable skills. Kiyosaki himself actually took a job at Xerox just to learn how to sell, because he knew that was an absolutely critical skill for any entrepreneur. Financial literacy is the foundation, but skills like sales, investing, and managing people, that's what really accelerates wealth creation.
So when you boil it all down, escaping the rat race, it's not really about how big your paycheck is. It's about your mindset. It's about fundamentally changing how you think about money, about opportunity, and about yourself.
See, the poor and middle class, they're trained to look for a job, for security. And so that's all they see. But a financial education, that trains your mind to see the opportunities to build assets that are literally all around you. A cheap house in a good neighborhood, a small startup that needs funding, a problem that you can solve with a business.
And that's exactly why money by itself is never the answer. I mean, think about all the lottery winners who end up broke. Money without financial intelligence is money that's gone pretty quickly. The real goal isn't just to get rich, it's to develop your financial genius so you can create wealth from nothing more than an idea.
The ideas in Rich Dad, Poor Dad are really the starting blocks, but the real race is won through learning day in and day out. So the question I want to leave you with is this. It's not if you'll train your mind, but how are you choosing to do it? What's one thing you'll do this week to make your most powerful asset even stronger?